Welcome to the Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Eisve.
And I'm Karolina.
And in this podcast, we're going to be talking about juicy topics such as
business, sex, power, relationship, and many more taboo topics.
So follow along, like, and subscribe. And today's episode theme is self-confidence. It's one of the main pillars that each person needs in their life to really bet on themselves. And being self-confident really allows us to have a positive view on our strengths and even weaknesses. So I believe it's one of the cornerstones that I really need in my life. And I see other people who are confident in themselves can do great things. Karolina, what is self-confidence to you?
So self-confidence to me is the believing in your skills, believing that you can do some things and achieve those things. And I think since I was a little girl, I was very resilient to the things. And I always believed that I can do it. You know, like as a child, you are fearless.
Yeah.
So you really, truly believe in yourself. And I think it was really helpful. I used to do the concerts for my family. I used to do crazy things like climb trees without fear. And I knew that I'm strong enough to hold on. And I think this was really helpful for me through life, because when you believe in your skills, you build that self-confidence. Obviously, it's different than self-worth, but you do things. You know, you have more energy. You do and you achieve things and you create something, you know, from it. And it's like a game. So, yeah, I think that would be for me self-confidence.
Yeah. And what do you think helped you to have self-confidence when you were a little girl? Do you think you just came like that into the earth? Or do you think that was a kind of your parents? Like, what influenced you to be resilient and be like, oh, you know, I'm strong, I can climb the trees? What was like and behind of that to help you do that?
I think naturally, us as kids, we are born with this energy. It's like called, you know, like a fire energy that we are born with, especially when we are small. So I think it's already in us. But also, I think it's a big thing was seeing my parents, like my mom. She didn't give up. She did a lot of things. She struggled, but, you know, she would put her face up and, you know, just keep going and doing it. And even the things she was fearful, she would just, you know, breathe in and let's go and do it, you know, and achieve it. So I think it really helped me to see how my parents dealt with this also, because I believe that my parents were self-confident too, you know, in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also really like what you said, that I do think that like kids are like that, because I remember one of my coach told me that 5-year-olds and psychopaths are exactly the same because they have no fear. And I know it sounds super like harsh, but like if I look as kids, they just go and do things and they believe in themselves and they kind of like bet on themselves. And like something bad happens, you know, they fall and then they, okay, like how they approach this situation. Mm-hmm. And I think the older we get, we kind of like start to fear and doubt us way more than when we were kids. So I kind of want to unpack that, and what you said, you looking at your parents brings me to my childhood and realizing why I have such a good self-confidence is my parents used to be mountaineers, and I would go to mountains since I'm 7. Mm-hmm. And if I'm climbing the mountain peak with them, I have no option as just do the hardest things. And then where the belief comes from, if I do a hard thing one time and then I do it another time, it's kind of like, you know, building that up. So my mind and my body is aligned and I know that I can do it. Mm-hmm. So I think from the very young age, I incorporated that into my life. And that's why I have this ability like throughout my life. And, you know, I took it on with me. And I think that kids' self-confidence is really growing how much the parent trusts them.
Oh, yes, I definitely agree with you about that, because the encouragement we get from the parents, let's keep doing, let's keep trying, because we are born with no abilities to do things. We just have this courage and self-confidence. We want to do it. And I think the more parents allow us to do mistakes and to learn and get better every time we do something, it's so important, because I know some parents would say, oh, it didn't work out last time for you, don't do it again, and that's what stops them from building the skill, because we are not born with the skills.
Yeah.
We're only born with this, fire to do things, but the skills we develop over time. And definitely the parents encouraging you to, do it again and again and again and again until you get better. And yes, of course, we cannot be great in all the subjects, like even at school, we cannot be, but you can see straight away where we have more skill. Some people have more in math, some people more in geography, and in the life also somebody is more better in cooking, and other people are better, I don't know, cycling and sports and things and stuff. And I think it's super important to be encouraged in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger the encouragement is on your skills, I think those skills reach higher values. Like, for example, if somebody is very good in maths and you push them to the logical games and things and stuff, you don't know how much growth can happen in there and who they can become in the future, And it's really nice to see that your parents, took you to the mountains and, they encourage you to do that, because it's dangerous, A lot of parents have fears, and they could have said, oh no, you fell this time, you hurt, don't go there. But they kept taking you, and so this is so beautiful to see,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add to this, because I keep hearing you saying positive reinforcement. And if you're listening here now and you're like, okay, but my parents didn't do that, they maybe told me other things because, maybe you weren't as supported and as encouraged as a kid. What you can do now as a grown-up, as Karolina mentioned, if you have some skills, there's this exercise that I used to do. I would celebrate every day 3 wins of a day. Even if it's like taking the trash out, because there are days when, maybe you are crippled by some health disease, and like some little wins are so little some days, but the other ones can be like true, way bigger achievements. So use that positive reinforcement on yourself and like parent yourself into growing and boosting your ability to believe in yourself, because I think if you feel like you don't have self-confidence, the main thing that you need to do is help your mind trust your body. And I think that really, really comes from discipline. What I mean by that is, if I say myself that I'm going to eat healthy, right? And then the next day I go and buy pastries, my mind is like, oh, okay, she's just, making things up. If I decide to go to the gym, I put it into my agenda, even if I don't want to go, but it's there. Everything is laid out for me, what I need to train and so on. I will go and do it. So my body and my mind, even when I need to do hard things, doesn't doubt me that much. Mm-hmm. And that's self-confidence, I know I can do it. It's not about like, oh yeah, I'm so self-confident that I can go into a new arena. I'm saying this because like, I'm capable of some activities, but then, for example, maybe I'm very used to presenting to 50 people and then I go and present to 1,000, and that's like a new step. So obviously I have the self-confidence that I can do it, but I will need to stretch it myself. So like practice positive reinforcement, practice follow through to build self-confidence.
Yeah, totally agree. Like these little steps that definitely will help you to start somewhere, The other thing I think I noticed that a lot of us, also including myself, sometimes we focus on the things we cannot do. And sometimes we see other people are doing and you're like, oh, why this person achieved this and I couldn't achieve that? What I mean by that, for example, my story of self-confidence, I think I have a very good skills on moving around. So because for others that looks super scary, and for me it's like, okay, I pack my things and go. So the backstory is that I moved through countries 4 times in my life. So my first move was when I finished school, and I decided to go abroad for a couple of years. So that was my first time. I packed the things, and within a month I moved to live to Ireland. Obviously I didn't stay there 2 years, I stayed more than that, like 13, 14 years. But after that, I decided that I want to try to go to Spain. And I did move to Spain for nearly a year. And okay, that wasn't easy because I had 2 very small children. One was 3 years old, another one was 10 months old. And yes, it was very tough. And I didn't even last full year. I decided to return back to Ireland. And then after that, obviously, there was like this COVID situation that kind of started in the world. So I decided I want to move to Lithuania to be closer to the family for the safety and stuff. So again, I pack all my things, I take my 2 children, and I moved to Lithuania. And then most recent trip was I decided that I want to try Spain again. And of course, that was scary because when you look at that, once you tried and you failed because it was too difficult, I wanted to stop. And I think when I told this idea to other people that, you know what, I'm planning to move to Spain again, everybody was like, but you did it, you tried it. But I believed in my skills. I said, I can do it. And this time, I will set my mind to be more ready for such drastic changes. Because obviously what happens when you move from one country to another, the culture, the language, anything socially, it's so different that of course it gives you a lot of stress. And on top of that, I wasn't moving by myself. I was taking my 2 small children. So that means changing schools, crashes, again, changing food and, so that was a lot. But I did it because I believed in my skills. I knew I can do it because it wasn't my first time. So, and I did it, But what I hear from some of my close friends, they're like, oh, I could never do it. It's so big and stuff. So I usually say to them that, listen, don't look at others. Like I mentioned to you before, sometimes we compare ourselves and we're like, oh, this person is good at this. No, just look at small steps, what you can do, Give it a try. Go maybe on holiday first or something like that. It doesn't have to be the movement straight away. And another thing is, don't think that you can't come back. You can always come back. You can try. You go. You didn't work. Like for me, the first time to Spain, it really didn't work. It was too tough. I was mentally and physically exhausted, and I was like, okay, it's not working out. I'm coming back. Yes, there was judgment from outside, but you know what? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. When people want to judge you, they will judge you. So you just come back in yourself and, self-confidence.
Yeah, but that's the thing, girl. Like, you have the self-confidence is that like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna try new things, and if I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna try another thing, because it doesn't prove that there's something wrong with me. And a lot of people will stop just by trying one thing, and they'll be like, oh, okay, so like, it's not, and they're gonna say it's not meant to be. The best phrase in this world. But what do you do? What do you do with the naysayers? What do you do with them placing the fears on you? Because, okay, you can be super resilient, amazing self-confidence, doing things, and then, like, you keep hearing that, like, oh, Karolina, but like, how, why? And you like keep hearing bad things that like, oh, but moving with kids, maybe like, like, I can't even come up with these things. That wouldn't be obviously me. But like, you know what I mean? There will be people like, oh my gosh, you're doing this,
Yeah.
So what do you do with people who are like, there to kind of like, disempower others because like maybe they don't believe in themselves? Like there can be many, many reasons, but what do you do if you get like discouragement that it's trying to attack you, and other people can be like crash down and their self-confidence disappears because they don't get approval from others to go and pursue something.
Okay, so usually in the beginning I used to get upset and I used to take in very deeply, other people's opinions, and I used to think, oh, maybe they are right, look, this time didn't work out, or this was very difficult and stuff. And yeah, I mean, like it's normal that we take in, but I think over time you start thinking that, okay, so if I always listen to others, I will not move from here, and is it really what I want for my life? Do I really want other people to stop me? So slowly I started to say, thank you for your opinion. I will take it in consideration. And that's it. I just let it in, the information, and out, and I just move on. Other thing I learned, I do not share my crazy ideas with certain people that I know they are not capable to receive this. I think that really helped me. I just go and do it. And of course, when they find out, they can say whatever they want. But at that point, when I'm in my own decision that, okay, I want to try to do this, I only share my ideas with people who are a bit more open-minded, that I know, and that those people can give me like a constructive criticism if this is the step I'm not doing correctly or something, But it's the same as like changing the job, or I don't know, traveling, going on holidays, or starting a relationship. Like there's always going to be people trying to place their own fears, as you said, So I just try to kind of separate myself from these opinions.
I think also a very important thing here, self-confidence is also being like grounded in me, working through my fears. Because if somebody is telling you that like, oh, Karolina, your hair looks horrible, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're perfect today, you wouldn't like even take it in. But if I'm telling you something that you kind of have some fear in you, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't move. And somebody's like telling you, oh, but that decision you're moving into is not right.
Yeah.
You're gonna start believe that because like they're evoking something that is already in you.
That's true.
So what I like to do, and that's what we all have capability as kids, is find expanders. What I mean by that, it's related to whatever you want to do in life. You want to learn a new skill. For example, me, I trained to become one of the best free divers. I found world-class coaches who have already achieved what I wanted to achieve. Meaning, me just being and training alongside people like that, what kids do, our brain is like a sponge. We absorb anything we are exposed enough to. That is your thoughts. So whatever you marinate your thoughts in, it becomes. And your environment, people around you, they can either expand you because they're already there, they already know how to be in the result that you want to be, or they can try to place the fears. So if there's something that, I don't know, you want to learn photography, find the best photographer in your town, find the best photographer in the world, reach out, ask. That's where self-confidence will help you to ask and maybe move in the right direction to find people who can empower you. Find your circle, join masterminds, join communities, network.
Definitely.
Because self-confidence is like, going out. It's that the belief, as you said, that fire that the kids have.
Yeah.
But what kids do, they come and like they sit and they look at you. Oh, okay, this is how you cut the cucumber.
Yes.
And
exactly.
we forget that it doesn't matter that I'm a grown-up. AI, was released recently. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing thing. I can automate things and I keep learning new things. But sometimes I mentor people and they're like, but I never worked with this tool. And I'm like, fine, but this is an opportunity for you to learn.
That's true.
So start believing in yourself by doing little things and finding people who can expand you. And if you're going into a new direction, find a coach. Coaches are there because it really, really works. If like somebody believes in me, I can do and achieve something before even I do, I start taking that in. Yeah,
like,
that happens.
surround yourself.
Yeah, that can happen through friends, through family, through like the circle that you surround yourself with. But you can also just take a coach or a mentor, find what works for you. There's so many ways to start with self-confidence.
Yeah, definitely. So the first step would be like identifying your skills, yeah? What you like, what you don't like, and where would you like to progress, and then finding the community, mentors, and yeah, I think I totally agree. You know, the more you surround yourself with this, where you want to be, I think it's also open for yourself the horizons, because maybe you are dreaming to be, like you said, maybe you're dreaming first you're dreaming to be like a swimming coach, but once you surround yourself with those people, you decide that maybe your dream and your skills could go further than that. You know, it helps you to expand, but only being in that community, you can see that you can go even deeper and in learning and understanding, you know, and expanding yourself. So yeah, like this, you know, like it's amazing way to build yourself.
Yeah, and when I talk about expansion, I don't only mean just skills, I also mean like we expand energetically. And if I'm around people who are like in a higher, let's call, timeline, vibration, I'm also like observing that, because like we have this thing called heart coherence. So I feel the field of another people and they feel my field. And there is this scientific proof that if people spend enough time around high performers, the performance increase. But the proximity that we need to be closer to, let's say, positive environment is like smaller, and we're way easier impacted by the negative. So if we are sitting, for example, in the office around people who are like performing, you know, like whatever, we're gonna decrease way faster than we're gonna upgrade. So work on yourself, do things, like if you put something into your agenda, follow through. Discipline is really important.
Yes.
But also surround yourself with people that not only like verbally gonna encourage you, but people who you know, just sitting around them elevates you.
Yeah, definitely. So what we would like to wish all of you, to increase that self-confidence, find your own communities, find your circles that lift you up, and trust in yourself, because we all are good at something, you know? We have so many talents. We just need to find them, or at least find people to help us to see them in us.
Yeah. And if you're searching for the community, we are launching one here in Barcelona with the live events. So you can come and join one of our events in Barcelona, or when we're gonna have them online.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, and follow along.
Thank you.